why rent protection is so important. Today, I'm joined by Oli Sherlock, who is the boss man for insurance. Good Lord, what a surprise. Talk to me, Oli, why is rent insurance so important?
Yeah, this is the obvious video, isn't it? But I think one that
And you can't pitch it too much, mate,
no,
because
well, I'm not going to try
you're not
to.
allowed to pitch on the Watkin sofa.
I'm not going to try to because I think it's really down for businesses and consumers to make their own mind up on what they want to choose. So I want to speak more generally about the movement that's happening around rent protection insurance and the way it's utilised. Um, as hopefully most of the viewers today are aware of, we're going through substantial change in the form of the Renters' Rights Act. That is bringing more risk for landlords and for agencies, arguably, than ever before. But in reality, this has been a long time coming, and as much as it's quite strange that somebody wouldn't protect an investment as big as their rental property. Any landlords walking out there with nice watches or nice handbags, for example, they're not going to think twice about protecting that thing that they would probably deem an asset. But when it comes to rental payments, that in previous years has been something that the majority of landlords haven't chosen. We're now seeing that change. And that really is, I think, because of the way that one, the industry is educating them. I think the industry is doing a great job at educating them of better risks. We've come out this time, Chris, where telling landlords something's going to go wrong is a bad reflection on your agency, I think. Ultimately, that's part and piece of being a landlord. And even landlords in the highest of our establishments, like the government, find it hard to be a landlord.
Yes.
So if it's hard for them, it's harder for everybody else. But the reality is, I think agencies are in a better position to educate customers on risk than ever before because it's so obvious. It's so obvious that legislative change is leading to a harder process for landlords to evict tenants. It's so obvious that the court's taking 8, 9+ months to evict a tenant leads to material harm from an agency perspective and a landlord perspective. And more importantly, it's so obvious that for every landlord that runs the risk of not protecting themselves, that could be one more landlord exiting the market. So I think actually agency has now switched more onto the idea this is a great retention tool. It's also a really good way to protect their income too. So there's a changing shift there, Chris.
Why do you think there is negativity or resistance of the frontline staff? The property, the lettings neg at the landlord to try and get a landlord to sign up to it.
I think there's a number of challenges there. I don't think suppliers previously have been really good at educating those staff.
What you mean, prop tech suppliers teaching their customers how to sell their product?
Uh,
Oh my God, I've never heard of such a thing.
I'm gonna argue actually prop tech suppliers are better than the traditional referencing and insurance firms because I think there's a focus on the MDs or the business owners getting on board.
Well, no, you lot do, but again, we're not pitching here. We're
Uh,
not allowed to pitch.
there was no pitch in that
Okay,
sentence.
well,
There's merely a
just in case,
shift,
just in case.
merely a shift in changing behaviours. And I think there is now more focus, rightly so, on property managers. There is more focus on frontline staff. It's not just about the managing director or the business owner becoming bought into this thing. It's about how do you do it. So there's been an education gap there, number one. Number two, why should they be asked? Why should they bother? If they're not incentivized to do it, if their prime incentivization is on doing the deal, now historically, that's meant doing the let, not doing the deal at a percentage rate in a lot of offices, just getting a let in.
Yeah.
So I don't care about the fee so much. I've got a range probably of let's say 8 to 12%, normally lower than 10, not near 12. That's what I care about. So it comes down to incentivization. Am I incentivized to have that
So
conversation?
it comes through the way that person's managed by the bosses.
Well, it's the structure of the business, I suppose. And that structure of the business comes really from the people supplying them, I would argue. Ultimately, if you've got a product that is half-baked, that ultimately, struggles to work as the way it should do, nobody's going to be that bothered. So I think, again, that's where competition really helps the market. The more competitors and the better they are, gives more customer choice. So, why has this been tricky before? I think it's really about education. I think it's about incentivization. And then it's about what do these services actually do? Do they actually work? And do they cover a host of things that ultimately protect both the letting agent and the landlord? And I think we've seen an evolving space when it comes to the comprehension of these services in the market too.
Thank you for your time today, Ollie.
Thanks, Chris.
Other insurers are available.